Thanks for joining us today, Mel. Pleasure to speak to you and hear about everything that you're going to say, because it's really exciting to kind of look back over the last 10 years of League One, and you've been there right from the start. So, for the uneducated, tell us about your role and your team behind the scenes, and how you keep everything ticking over.
Oh, so my role, not that it's evolved much, but I'm a league administrator. So technically, I take care of all the administration for the league. We do all the scheduling, all the discipline, all the registrations, even for all the players, vetting them, making sure any IT international clearances proper, professional, reinstate professionals, and have professional contracts. So we take care of all of that in the office. At the beginning, it was literally just me in year one. Just Dino and myself. We whipped up this league in about 12 weeks to kick off that first season, and then it kind of started to blossom. And I had one staff with me, and her and I did most of it, and even the game days. We took care of game days by ourselves and everything. So that my role now has evolved more, where there's more leagues. We have more stats, just that alone, even with like all our match day operations coordinators that take care of the premier divisions, we still have to take care of all the other divisions to ensure that they get all their minutes and stuff on the league. And so my staff has grown from one to now we have 5 people.
Fantastic. So, what does your uh, kind of team from start to finish in a general day? I suppose if there is a general day, what's kind of the process and timings?
So we are typically, so we work for DG Sports, which is the league service provider contract for League One. We also have other leagues as well. So our typical day is just chaos in here. We have with the different leagues, we have different stuff, but League One right now takes a large chunk of our time because of the state, to make sure that the standings are updated, the scores are put in the website so that everybody can see the standings. As soon as we get the game sheets in for the reserve games, we are uploading those, so there's not too much of a lag for that. And then we both two of my girls are match day operations coordinators, so they do that on the premier side as well. And we schedule the match day coordinators. We do that. We run our final game days, which is getting the change rooms ready for the teams, getting the fields, the ticketing, all that magical stuff, the field ready, the all of that. It's we do a lot. Just give us a
All
broom and a dustpan, and we'll do that too.
all things that not necessarily people don't see from the front end. So, have you found it kind of like your team, you and your team are unsung heroes almost in a way in the league? Do you think yourselves of yourselves like that in a way, or yeah,
I think well, my team especially, I couldn't do what I do without them. Um, but I don't I like you said, it's a lot of behind the scenes that people don't understand. I've had a few interns come in, and they're in sport management, and when I say, "Okay, we do this," "Oh, we don't learn that. We don't like it," just even the scheduling part of it, the puzzling, everybody thinks, "Oh no, there's a program for that." Well, no, not necessarily. There's a lot of stuff that goes into making the schedule work for everybody, right? So a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that not a lot of people they think just happens. You don't get a lot of credit for it. However, with like Dino and Matt and Chris and stuff, they get it. So credit from them is good enough. And as long as my teams and we get a lot of good stuff on social media and a lot of people watching, it that for me is good enough, right?
fantastic, yeah. So, talk us through how kind of League One Ontario first landed on your table and how the first ideas kind of came about. Give us
Wow.
a take us back in time a little bit, 10 years
But
ago.
I'm going to age myself a little bit here. So I've been with the Ontario Soccer League, which was originally the Toronto District Soccer League, since 1995, which is the senior amateur men's league here, which is more of our soccer for life pathway versus the talented pathway. And we've had some semi-professional leagues, but nothing. Nothing like League One. I can say that 100%. Nothing like League One since I've been involved. So Dino had kept trying to get this off the ground, and diligently working really, really, really hard, and then came to us and said, okay, we need to make this work, because we were kind of butting heads a little bit, because we had the men's league here and this was another league coming in, not kind of realizing the difference. And then we got involved with Dino, and as I said, we whipped together the league within 12 weeks that first season. And that first season didn't really affect any of the other leagues. Like we have a women's league here as well that was kind of a little bit on edge as well. But when you realize that we had a pathway for the youth, like going this talented pathway, and nowhere for them to kind of sit after, that this was needed. So we needed this pathway for the 18 and above, right? And it just seemed to kind of all come together. And on the other league, it's very competitive, because that's what it is. They're the same competition level, so it's very competitive for that. And then you have League One, where there's more ambition, right? This other league is, yes, let's go play with the guys, let's do this, we still want to keep in shape and whatever. Where this league has more ambition, and you see it when you see players move on to professional teams, and even the national teams.
I was going to touch on that. What's it been like seeing those types of players move on to really big things?
So for me, I get a little bit emotional. I feel like they're my kids, right? Because I've watched them kind of grow up, and I'm like, oh my god, those are my players. Like, they played in my league, and I'm like, oh my god, like I saw him play with Vaughn, and 2 weeks or 2 years ago, and so even that, when we had, I think it was 9 players on the men's team that we had from League One at the World Cup, that was just like, for me, it was just, okay, this is working. What we're doing here is working. Me killing myself for this league and all the other leagues I do is working, because I can see it happening here, and even on the women's program as well, right? So it for me, emotionally, it's they're like my family. Like, because I've been around for so, again, aging myself, because I've been around for so long, and some of them I've had, like, for, not that he played in League One, but for instance, Dwayne De Rosario played in my OSL, my Soccer for Life league, back in the 90s. And for me, and I'm very close with Dwayne, I've known him forever. But for me, like, I've watched him grow and done this and done, and now he's an ambassador for the sport, and what he's doing, like all that kind of stuff, that to me is amazing, that we're here helping people achieve their goals, right?
Yeah, fantastic. So what, as in addition to that, what have been your highlights that have kind of stood out to you over the last decade?
Well, like I said, the men's World Cup, that for me, with the numbers that we had there, has been amazing. Highlights, well, the fact that it's not me and Dino anymore, and we actually have staff doing these things. Like I said, year one, our men's final, it was just Dino and myself. We had my office, we would ran the gate, but Dino and myself did everything on game day. Like, if you would have saw 2 chickens with no heads, it was that day. Like, it was just the two of us. So now that to see how much we've grown, and that we have so much interest in this league now, like even for that position, for the match day operations coordinators, we get a lot of interest, and they stay with me for 1 or 2. I have had some since the beginning, since we had it, and they're continuously with me. Some have moved on. I've gotten different jobs in Canada Soccer, Ontario Soccer, different clubs. It's, to me, it's not that we're a stepping stone, but we're helping people in all aspects of the game. We're not just here to promote players. We're here to promote people and their careers and their staff. Like, we're giving them this opportunity to be involved in this and move up the ranks, right?
Mm-hmm. You mentioned obviously headless chickens. That would prove to be a special challenge. What were the challenges perhaps that presented themselves over the last 10 years, and how did the league kind of evolve and your team kind of evolve to overcome them and get to where the league is now?
We've COVID was a major challenge. Just trying to, that was I'd say one of our biggest. Year one was a bit of a challenge. We had a team that had to that we kind of kicked out, but that's a story for another day. But year one was a bit of a challenge in that aspect, trying to adjust everything. But COVID was a major challenge because everybody still wanted to play, but we're afraid to play. And we did this, and we had these little bubbles, and like it just that kind of turned things around for me. I find now there's so many more people involved than there was pre-COVID. The numbers are staggering, that people that want to play, that want to get more involved, that do this. Um, it that for me was a big one. COVID was one of our major challenges. And then even like you had to let go of staff and then trying to get them back when that first year back, you didn't really know what to you were able to do or what you could do, or is it coming again? Do we have to shut down? For me, that in every aspect of my job, like my DG Sports with all of our leagues, that was tough. That was really tough.
So go on, sorry. You can say
No, go
something else?
ahead.
So looking back now on where the league is today and what you've all achieved, would you say you've achieved your initial goals, and what were they right at the start? Was it to kind of just get it off the ground and see where it goes, or did you mentioned ambition? What were those kind of those steps that you were willing to take, and where are you in that big goal?
So, like I said, for me at the beginning, it was, this is part of my career. This is part of what I do. I'm here to help. I'm a scheduler, for lack of a better term, but or administrator, whatever. So me at the beginning, it was to help get it off the ground, and form that proper talented pathway, and help them form Ontario Soccer, help them form that proper talented pathway. I think we've achieved it. I think what we're working together closely with Ontario Soccer to make sure that at 17, those children going to be adults, right? That the next step, they have a place to play. They have somewhere to play, and keep pursuing that talented, that regimen, right? Versus just knocking off with their friends and going here and playing once a week and no practices, where they want that standard, and they want, so they have, like, for university, or for if they move on to Europe, we have we have a lot of players that have moved on to Europe, and come back and forth and back and forth. And it, for me, I that is, I think, now turned into my goal for this league, is to help these players, and as I said, even staff, to help these players and staff move to where they should be, and where they're happy and content with what they're doing.
Great, and that's a fantastic goal, because you're not just thinking about where the league is as a competition, but the league is the people in that league, essentially, and the people, giving those people the opportunity and the platform to go and achieve and be where they want to be. Where did soccer fall in your life? How did you first get into it?
It actually fell into my lap. I was in high school. Again, I'm aging myself. I was in high school, and my friends had played after school indoor soccer in Mississauga. And I went one day, and David G was there. And I said, "Hey, you want to give me a job?" And from 16 years old, I've been working with David G. And we were doing a lot of indoor at the start. And then the gentleman who ran the now OSL, previously was Toronto District Soccer League, he passed away in 94. And we put out the tender to operate that league. And that league had, I want to say, at the time that we took over in 95, we had 60 teams. And by 97, 98, we had 150 teams. And then we've just kept growing and growing. And we, as I said, with DG Sports, we do, we operate OPDL, we operate OSL, we operate League1. We've done the iModel pilot project. And in indoor, we do Grassroots for York Region. We do the Provincial Indoor Soccer League 11-a-side. We have men's and women's and co-ed leagues almost every night of the week. It's soccer 52 weeks a year. And it just literally a 16-year-old girl says, "Hey, you want to give me a job?" And it just turned into my life.
But you wouldn't have it any other way, really, would you? 52 weeks
No,
of the year,
no. I would like
a
maybe like
holiday every now
a
and then, I
holiday
suppose.
once in a while, maybe a day off here and there, but yeah, no, I love it. That's why I guess that's why I'm still here. I just love it.
Good. What's the aspirations then for obviously Pro Rel is coming into League 1 Ontario, but personally or as a league, what are the aspirations now going ahead? And even if we can look as far as the next decade, because we've gone through one decade already.
I think I'm a fan of promotion relegation. Especially in the senior youth, maybe a little different, but especially in the senior, I think it's more competition, right? You play best with best, and you get really good games, and exactly like last year, or was it the year before, where the hashtag every point matters. You knew that going in there, every game was going to be a good game. And for me, I would rather teams lose 2-0 than win 10-1. That's not what we're about. We're here to develop players, to help them develop, to help this. So I'm a big fan of the promotion relegation. I'm also a big fan of um, having the league champion represent us in the Canadian championships. For me, I feel they deserve it. You could have an off game in a playoff, but you've won 19 games in the league. You know what I mean? You've beat all the top teams, and now you can't go because you've had an off game. So for me, that change, I really like that change. I think winning the league is a very big deal.
And it's showcasing all of the achievements that happen across the league, isn't it? And that's essentially where that pathway occurs, isn't it? Where you champion achievements, and then the results will take care of themselves
Yes,
in a way.
exactly, exactly.
Well,
So I'm anxious to see how this plays out in the next couple years, because I know some people were for it, some were against it. I like it, and I think the competition is going to be that much better and that much stronger, because you are fighting for something. You are fighting to stay here, but you're fighting to go up, right? So it's every game's going to matter. So I think I'm like I said, I'm kind of excited for it. And it's change, right? Like, a lot of people don't like change, but for me, if it for the betterment of the game, I think it's good.